Well, excuse me. I was at another side of the computer. Well, good morning. It says that the button is live, and that means I am live. So, good morning to you. How are you? As you can see, I'm looking at several different things. Well, here I am over on my channel. Normally, I would be over on Jeff's channel, but um, not sure what happened to Jeff. Can't seem to locate the man. So we'll put out an all points bulletin and see if probably he may have just overslept. That can happen. Winter time, almost the winter solstice. In fact, I believe it's this Thursday. Winter officially begins. And many cultures, many different religious beliefs are founded on the winter solstice, two important days, winter and summer. In Japan, over Mount Fuji, it is at this period at the winter solstice that the sun rises exactly over the top of the volcano. So, anyway, thought, let me just see. I don't even know how many folks are even in here. So give me a second here. I'm going to close some of this stuff out. Come over here. Okay, well, look at this. Good morning, everyone. Boy, I didn't realize it would come this. Darren, good morning. Warrior Princess, good morning. Rune, good morning. Sean, Deborah L, overslept. I think that's what happened to our friend Jeff, is that I think that he may have overslept, but let's, see if he'll come on in here. So I am up. I've been up really early this morning, had some interesting dreams, and thought this morning was going to bring this up over with Jeff. So we'll just bring it over here. Sarah Kay, good morning. Bob Mack, good morning. How are you? Cheers, everyone. I'll tell you. Davey, good morning. I've been wondering where you have been at, my friend. So you have been in the hospital all week, down with pleurisy? Good Lord, my friend. Well, I'm going to send out some healing thoughts to you, and you keep yourself well, my friend. We need that. D Truth, good morning to you. Ian Coe, good morning. Mark Sharp, good morning. Maggie, good morning. Joe, well, hello, everyone. Well, so here's a question I'd like to pose to the audience, y'all, and welcome. Like I said, hopefully Jeff will get here. I know he said he was also thinking about going up to the Georgia Guidestone, so maybe he's on a road trip. Anyway, how many of you find it odd that we're seeing stories now come in about the Pentagon, about the UFO programs? We're finding out that the former Senator Reid absolutely demanded that there be funding in here for UFO research study. And isn't it odd that our former senator in Nevada, you always hear about the ranch that's outside Las Vegas. What is that ranch? I just drew a blank right then. Had it right in the tip of my tongue. But we're seeing greetings. Well, Carlos from Portugal. Hello. Thank you, my friend. Is it afternoon there now? Milky Way Weekly, good to see you. So, are we about to have disclosure? I just keep on seeing a lot of this going on that, well, it just quite doesn't make sense. And to start coming out with, in fact, give me a second here as I pull up give me 1 second. Y'all keep yourselves entertained. Cracks me up. I tell you what, if you can't have fun, then why are we here? So I have a few things here. Give me a second. By the way, I've got Steve Miller Band in my head. I know. That's where I live. What can I say? Folks, I'm going to make you smile. Wasn't Jennifer great? Going to have Trish G on Monday night, and like to get Heidi, but Jennifer was just great. I'll tell you what, crack me up. All right, so I am going to share this with you. So here's out of the New York Times. The New York Times, folks. How much more mainstream can you get? All right, 2 Navy airmen and an object that accelerated like nothing ever seen. Now, this event happened in 2004. Always wonderful they give it to us like decades later. But the point of it is this. So these are 2, as you can see, F-18s that were out there just, doing all maneuvers. Any of you have ever been in San Diego or up there through Del Mar, up the coast, if you live there in Carlsbad, that area, you know that that's where they trained the pilots at. So these were the F-18s Fs. So they're out there just they're simple and they're getting called. So they get a call from the U.S. Princeton, right? Saying there is something going on. We've been tracking this thing. Can you go out there and encounter it? Well, they did. And not going to play this because although it is courtesy of the U.S. Department of Defense, copyrights these days, you never know. The United States is a corporation, so I guess they could copyright that since we paid for it, right? So I digress. So the point is, I watched the video. You can see it up here, NewYorkTimes.com. Check it out. Whatever this was, flew a lot faster than what we had. And then, of course, this is the one that everyone is talking about, the Pentagon secret search for UFOs. Funded at the request of Harry Reid. The program probed a number of encounters military pilots had with aircraft they believe don't operate like anything that they had seen before. If this isn't deja vu, I mean, come on, the classic thing for disinformation is this. This is how it works. They got a book, they really do. So the book says this: you go out and you give the truth when you release it out, no matter how freaking outrageous it is, right? You put it out there. That way, you basically have no liability. You put the truth out there, but you don't want the truth to be out there. So immediately you come in behind your own story, and then you plant another story completely dissing your story. And now it's our human nature that, we'll always go with the negative. I know it's true. Come on. But here's the thing. And I think the amount is like $22, $23 billion, I think is what they actually put into this division. And, you know, Harry Reid, well, this is a non-political show. But man, makes me believe in shapeshifters. That's all I got to say about that. Anyone got that ranch out there outside the Long Walker Ranch? Is that it? I can't see anything right now looking at the screen. So anyway, I'll check back. So here's the point to all this. So we got this now out there. We know our government has never stopped tracking, chronologically logging UFOs. Apparently, lots of encounters, and that's just us. So, what's going on? I mean, that's what I keep asking myself. Okay, so I'll stop the share. And I'll come back in over here. So, all right. So, what do y'all think? Now I got to get this thing in here. Give me 1 second here. There we go. I think I just heard someone buzz me. Let's see. It's Jeff Doherty. Let's see. Says he's on his way to the Coral Castle. Interesting story about that. We all know. I think the guy used sound waves to neutralize the weight of that coral stone. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. I'm just reading the chat room, folks. Well, y'all are like really into the conversations. Skinwalker Ranch, is that it? Is that correct? Thank you, thank you. So, how many of you know the stories behind that one? That one's kind of a real odd one. I've heard that people have actually been killed there. I know that Jesse Ventura did a story on that and got himself, well, let's just say in a whole heap of trouble. You know, it was right after that when he was doing that story, and there was one other one on the, what are the data collection centers they have around the country? I don't know why completely. So we're talking about the nuclear potential war with Russia, with North Korea. All right, so this all kind of ties in line. This is why I like being in the chat room, but I have to really get the left side, right thing going. The question is, would the ETs allow a nuclear exchange? I don't know. You know, I did this story Friday night on programmable matter and the black goo and the nanobots. And by the way, I got more emails on that story, and we're going to continue it on because it appears that I got some really smart people. Carol, thank you for sending this, by the way, because I'm actually going to do a program on this. So, learning about an interesting gentleman who apparently has been in some of the black ops dealing with ETs. Now, hear me out on this, folks. This gets really interesting. By the way, 111 people are in the chat room right now, and that is amazing. There's that number 111. Amazing. All right. So hear me on this. This is weird. There is a program called Project Aquarius. Now, this is a really, it talk about the rabbit hole. Forget the rabbit. The prairie dogs moved in and everything has gone to hell in a handbasket. All right, so follow me on this. I was up late last night thinking on this. Is some great mind coitus. And thank you, Carol, for sending it. It is great mind coitus. All right. Apparently, at some time in the past, something happened to our timeline. Apparently, the J-Rods, and this is an extraterrestrial being of intelligence, they screwed up with us and altered our species' destiny in a particular timeline that we were supposed to have followed. As a result of this incursion, I'm telling you folks, this gets deep. As a result of this incursion, our species, the Homo sapiens, and our predecessors previous to us, but apparently specifically to when we came into the picture, there was a force. The only way I'm just giving it to you in my interpretation of what I've read thus far, and it's going to take me probably about 40 hours to put this thing together, but it was a separation. We lost that ability to keep united both the spiritual and the physical form. And as a result of this incursion, something changed, apparently, in this complete reality. Now, this sounds weird, I know. It appears that we are headed for a new version of Homo sapiens, which would be actually Homo sapiens sapiens. Now, sapien meaning sentient being, that we're seeing things really begin to kind of collapse. And apparently this program that our government, other governments have been involved and are involved with, are apparently messing with some stuff here. So Orion, we all know about Orion. Apparently our brothers, or somehow or another, were in the DNA recipe. They have been trying to work in reestablishing that. I just saw that. That's a great Joe Bonham. That cracked me up. That's good. That old Homo sapien trick again. I love it. All right, you get the cup of coffee award for the day. So, are you ready for this? Apparently, all life, folks, all life, and I'll bring out the full story on this because it's quite fascinating. But apparently, all life originates from this thing called, it's called the Ganesh particle. And it was part of a project called Project Lotus. And the best way to describe it is this. It is said to be the seed of life, all life. This gets really odd. So the background, this scientist, this guy came in, was part of this project, actually was interviewing this ET that basically this ET has sacrificed himself. He has come here representing his species to basically try to figure out how to change back the timeline. And this timeline was altered a long time ago. It's called the Shiva Linga, and that's SHIVALENGA. So it's all based on frequencies. And I'm just giving you bits of this. So there's an ultra low frequency that's emitting around the world right now. It is at 1.618033 megahertz. It's all around. Apparently, it's supposed to be a healing frequency that is supposed to be trying to heal us. All right. Now, this is where it really gets into some really strange stuff, folks. So, how many of you have read the book of Revelation? How many of you actually have, read about the creatures that stand around the throne, right? You've seen the great throne room? We call these cherubims, right? All right. This is weird, folks. And listen, I'm still researching this thing out. Davey, you're right. It's about frequency, folks. Whoa, we have no idea. Apparently, it's just not us, meaning the United States government. There are apparently very powerful bloodlines involved here. Governments, but bloodlines particularly. They are messing with this Ganesh particle. Apparently, it's where we get all of our stories of our origins, whether it goes back to the Sumerian tablets, the Hebrew story, the Genesis story, the Vedic story, whatever you want to place, it has its base in the construct of being somewhat accurate. And apparently, when I was reading about this cone, now we've all seen the cone. We've seen them in the hieroglyphs, the pictographs, of the Sumerians, the Mesopotamians. We've seen it through the Egyptians. We've seen it through the Mesoamericans. We have seen these cones. We even see it in the Catholic Church celebrated. That is, in fact, what it is. That is God. It's our construct of how we get God. And this was never supposed to be this way. We were supposed to have been united with the way that this thing works. I mean, I can't, it's apparently when this lotus flower, this cone, this essence of the seed of life, when it gives birth, it splays itself open with 12 separate parts. each part begins to display cellular division, life. It's supposed to grow in unified harmony. This is the way it's supposed to go. And as it continues to generate life, I don't know how to get it down right perfectly here, but each part will separate itself. And that's about as far as I have gotten in this. Well, here's the deal. Apparently, there was a facility called the Shade Rest, of which a portal opened. Now, this has happened not once, but apparently a number of times. And the scientists, even military personnel that were there, death and destruction is what I can tell you. Death and destruction. These creatures that manifested had, are you ready for this? Red eyes, the color of coal, red coal when it's burning, 4 faces. They were extremely dangerous to the humans that failed to promptly obey their commands. The destruction that took place was apparently unseen, what we would describe it. And we could describe pretty good. So they took this element, whatever this thing was, and basically have given warning, but apparently those warnings have not been heeded. And now it appears that something has really gone amiss. And that's as far as I've gotten. Weird, isn't it? Something has gone amiss. So if in fact we have EBEs, which I do believe that are here, this is another take to a story we've all heard decades ago. I mean, that's the whole thing about Roswell. That was the whole thing about Duluth, New Mexico. I mean, we've heard these stories. The Russians, the Chinese. So was there an incursion that happened? Now, if time is in fact reality, now I still say without the observer, time doesn't exist, but let's just talk about this. This would explain a lot for me, because as you can see in the whiteboard, I haven't ever changed this because I still ponder on this. We got 2 gaps in the written record. We got today where all of us get so wrapped around the axles. I mean, we got our drawers so tight in a knot, you know, I'm surprised we're not all walking bow-legged. But the fact of the matter is that we get so wrapped around the construct of our beliefs, and whether it be religion, politics, whatever. And none of these things seem to ever unite us. It seems to divide us. It puts us into camps. I'm convinced none of us know our past. I mean, we all got our different versions of it. But again, none of us know. You know, I'm 62 years old. Yeah, I'm still a rock and roller. I'm still, you know, you never grow up, folks. Some souls do. But you have to understand, it's not this outer biomass. It's what's inside of us. That's the cherishable. That's the value. That's the real prize. But I see this, and I've concluded no one knows. I wish I did. Yeah, bow-legged. That's right, Sophie. It happens that way. Oh, what can I say? But we do. We get so wrapped, so tight. You know, the biggest hate speech that comes against me are from, you know, the Christians. They just love to rack me up, you know. But, you know, you smile because I get it. I get it. It gives us at least this, you know, well, I'm holding on to this. It may be a thin rope, strand of hair. I don't know. But it kind of makes sense. You know, I don't know, you know, when this comet hit in 11,000 BC, apparently it put a spanking on Earth. But yet it seems like, and you know, so let's talk about this lotus cone. And it's called the Suri Yantra. Is that right? I think I saw someone write that. Yeah, 20. I agree with you. We don't know next to nothing in our history. I agree. So it's the Siri, S-R-I, right? And then it's the Yantra, Y-A-N-T-R-A, which translates cone or lotus flower, procricote or ecocrote. And it emits unlimited amount of varieties, variations, etc. Okay, let's follow this. Two lines of thought we're going to try to track parallel. Number one, if there was an incursion in our timeline, would make a lot of sense to me. How many in the room? There's 147 and we're growing all the time, but here's the point. How many of us, when you are open-minded and you look at all of our brothers and sisters, because we're all related in this, folks, there ain't no getting out of the pot in this one. They done stirred that pot so much, we ain't getting out by ourselves. So all the different religions have their basis of origin, right? Now, I've contended when I got out of the God spell and stepped back and said, all right, now wait a minute. All these people can't be wrong. And can they all be right? Well, this kind of gives you, I think, a mathematical equation that could be worked out that could say this could become very plausible. If the timeline has been contaminated way back when, let's go, track with me on this, folks. Let's go not thousands of years, not tens of thousands of years, not hundreds of thousands of years. Let's start dating the clock to tens of millions of years ago. How would we know the difference? Could we possibly have a clue by all the different religious beliefs of the world? And if we were able to simply be an objective observer and say to ourselves, okay, I see this story here. I see where they get that. I see this one. I see that one. What if, and I'm just sitting around drinking coffee with you on this cold Sunday morning. What if is that what we're seeing is possible shifts in different parallel timelines? I mean, if a timeline has been altered or contaminated, would it not make sense that contamination would spread out, much like a virus? And this is, in fact, what the EBE keeps saying, that this is exactly where the origin of life comes from, as a virus. And if you study the attributes of virology, you will know that viruses are the most dominant life form on this planet. So when you think about the virus, all right, folks, ready for this? Matrix time. All right. So when they had Morpheus, right, and Mr. Smith had him there doing the interrogation, right? The famous line, well, there's so many in that movie. I swear those guys were tapped into something else in there. But here's the thing. Mr. Smith was saying this. He says, you're like a virus. You come in, you use up all the available resources, you multiply, and then you move on. Kind of the basis of what life is, isn't it? I mean, look at our bodies. Our bodies are made up of billions, potentially, I think, trillions of cells. Seems like each cell has within itself a wealth of knowledge. Wherever it gets it, we still are amazed by how much as we dig deeper, these cells operate independently. They are the threads of life within us, but they are attracted through the law of cohesion, and it begins to form us. And what's so unique about it, these cells are basically the same cells, but then they begin to take on different personalities. While I was studying this was the interesting thing that they found in the lab. This is what led them to these other studies. Are you ready for this? So what they did in the lab was that they took the single cell amoeba. Now, they synthetically produced another protein. Now, here's the strange thing. The protozoa, that when it came in to consume this other protein that was multiplying, here's the weird thing about it. You had one form of life coming and beginning to consume another form of life. Now, what the scientists found that was really weird was that when the cell that consumed the other cell for food, they observed something. And that was within, and that's just, you have to understand how things split in the cells, within a very quick point of time, the consuming organism began to take on traits of the food that was consumed. Now, this is what really gets weird, is what they found, that within all food, it puts itself into the host or the consumer. The consuming body begins to take attributes of what was being consumed. Now, on the surface, that may be seen, well, big deal. What does that have to do with anything? Actually, it has a lot to do with everything. Because if we can see the interaction of life forms in the lab, what do you think it's doing when it gets to our stage? We talk about demonic possession. Can another life form possess an existing life form? The answer would seem to be yes. Now, We approach this through a doctrine that this is somehow called angels or demons. I contend they're neither. I contend that they are a life form and a species. Apparently, this thing of domination for us, we seem to be an odd lot, as what the EBE say. We were destined for a path of greatness. Apparently, if this contamination had not happened, if this interdiction of whatever they were, obviously they were advanced intelligence, bipedal, I don't know, but apparently they have physical form, and apparently they messed with us. Now, I don't know if we were someone else's private project. I don't know. All I do know is that the J-Rods feel responsible for this. And apparently, until this can get right, they are separated from them. Now, who knows? Maybe this is all nonsense. But, you know, I tend to take it that people, I think, are coming around. If this frequency, which was called out, there was a project called Mission Genesis, and it had to do with 3 particular scientists. It was called the FBM project. You see, Carol, I'm getting this out there. And I'll just read to you what my notes are. A living organism can be consumed by another living organism and begin to exhibit traits of the consumed life. Now, this later became called the Starflower Project. When they began to realize this and they began to, well, apparently these EBEs have transferred knowledge to certain humans that, well, of course, any government, any elite bloodline would love to have. So apparently there's this whole freaking battle going on, excuse me, for this control of this. But these angels, that's what I call them. I think they're in fact cherubims. I believe in angels. I don't know if angel is the right word, but yeah, I believe in them. I've seen them. And it's led to this. It's called the doctrine of the convergent timeline paradox, the DCTP. Now, if this is known by the elites, and yes, I do believe the elites exist, us commoners may never be at their table, but trust me, we are powerful enough to surround the table. So think about that. All right. So the doctrine of the convergent timeline paradox is apparently now known to Homo sapiens. We now understand, apparently, the paradox that we're in. And I look at today, and I look at this as a paradoxical world. So that then led into Project Lotus. This is all about folks gaining this whatever it is. Apparently, it can be accessed to. Apparently, it was above and still is, in many cases, of our ability to fully comprehend what's going on. But, you know, I did the show Friday night, and I can't help but not think that if we're seeing these type of stories, and whether they are fiction or whether they be fact, it's the fact that they can be thought of at all, and you can see relevancy to so much of what we're going through. That's what I step back and ask myself. All right, so if AI exists, I happen to believe it does, then where does that leave us? If this is, let's just say that we use Einstein's theory of probability. All right. So we got the randomness factor no matter what. Let's just say that there's one grain of truth to this. Well, if the Pentagon, if our own government seems to be prepping us for something, by the way, have y'all really given thought to what's going on as we think about the universe itself, like within our solar system? I mean, have we been surrounded by aliens? Yeah, I say aliens, other life forms that are nature or to this planet. Of course, there's some theories that say that we are not native to this planet by our human genome. But check this out. So I put this together. Let's talk about Saturn, how hexagons can form in natural environments. I keep on asking myself, is there something there that's telling the wind, go right, go right? I mean, is it like a NASCAR driver? You know, NASCAR drivers, they only turn left, you know? I don't know. And what's up with all these moons that apparently got these hexagons as well? How does an asteroid hit or a meteorite hit and form a hexagon? I can get how they can do a spear, an oblong spear. I can get that. Doesn't that look weird? These are all the moons of Saturn. People are contending that this is not a moon, but in fact, a spaceship. I'm trying to get the guy who's actually postulating this on to do an interview with. Now, check that out, folks. What happened there? I mean, seriously. Did something capture something, or I don't know. That is a strange one. This one is in the rings of Saturn. Many are contending that this is, in fact, a spacecraft. Weird things about Saturn, folks. I'm almost thinking that it may be more than what we think. And then you get moons like this, smooth as a baby's bottom. Look at that. I'm telling you, there's something weird about this planet going on. I still contend that if you're going to have intelligent life, it's most likely going to be under the planet's surface. Now, these are all moons, right? So take a look at that. Can y'all see that how that could be potentially? I mean, we still don't know what a spacecraft, an alien craft would look like. Or at least I haven't seen any. But what about the hexagons? That's the thing that gets me. I mean, seriously, how does that happen? And then you got you know, the storms within the storms within the storms, but all within that. Yeah, that's really weird. Strange, isn't it? Now, I wanted to check something out here. Give me a second. There is one particular moon I want us to take a look at. This one still boggles my mind. How about this one, folks? Saw a very sharp gentleman talking about this last night. And, you know, this has been talked about, but have you seen this and really given this thought? I'll tell you what, if that doesn't look like a weld, I don't know what doesn't then. I mean, come on. Look at that. Isn't that weird? I don't get it. And then you get that. So, anyway, as you can see, let me get out of here. So there we go. Weird, isn't it? So hexagons in natural formation of space. Could, if you were interstellar, wouldn't you more have a covering of your ship would probably be more like an asteroid than it would be artificial or manufactured metal. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. But boy, this has been fun. It does look like a nutshell, Gary. I agree with you. And it looks to me like it absolutely a giant walnut. You know what? Now I know where the Ice Age prehistoric squirrel went to. Now that is just great. I love it. Now they're going to have to do a story. Have to do a sequel to that. That is exactly what it looks like. The acorn or the walnut, because it's just so weird. It is weird. And what's going on? I don't know. Like I said, are we truly about to see disclosure? I don't know. I think something is up. By the way, I do have something I want to share while we're together here. So let's pull up this. Talking about getting things weird. Check this out, man. So the thought police coming to a neighborhood near you. I don't know. When I see the Chinese doing this stuff, you can't help but not think that every other government in the world wants to have the same technology, or do they already have this technology? I don't know. I like it how they say in China, the government has referred to its detention program as vocational training. Yeah, right. I don't know. That goes counter to my belief of what vocational training is. I always thought that that may have been, you know, a trade, you know, a hammer or saw or something. I could be wrong on this. Here's one, folks. So we are at the maximum of the solar minimum. And, you know, it is weird to see the sun that has no activity on it. But you read this article, and we've seen this time and time again. And again, we are at this solar minimum. I think we will start seeing the reversal of it in a couple of years, is what they say. So here you can see. And it has a lot of different effects, but I kid you not, it's all right. Here is case any of you ever want to go and see what a geomagnetic storm does to our magnetosphere. This is what it looks like. That not cool? So this is the solar wind for those of you who may not know. And you can come here and look at this. You can see it has an effect. The Earth protects itself. Yeah, cool, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know if any of you want to see this, but this is what I get to look at. I find that, you know, go to the source. That's the way I look at it. Now, we were hit with a coronal hole stream, and you can see the effects it has on the Earth. Isn't that cool? I think it is, but I'll let it play out. You can go to this. You can see the NOAA website up here. And this is another view of that. So when you see this signature behind, typically it means that there's something interfering, and you can see it. This is the plasma. It's so cool. Anyway, all right. I know I digressed. Let me stop the share. So there we go. I'll get back here. So anyway, folks, I hope this was fun. Jeff, wherever you are, as you're heading down to the Coral Castle, I'm sure that's going to be a good report we can see down there. It's always fascinating. I've never had a chance to go down there, so I think it's going to be cool to see someone that can do that. Tomorrow night, Trish G. Got some other things planned as well. We're going to get more and more into this. I think this is interesting as I get these reports, and I've got a ton of them, and get them condensed down so that you and I can have a fun conversation. I'll be on Tuesday night as well. Hopefully, if Jeff will do our midweek report, and in the interim, y'all have a good week. You know, I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for supporting the channel. I love it. Y'all are just the best in the world. You know, I consider this a place of comfort. It's a place to me of sanctuary that I can come in here and have a discussion with hundreds of some of the best minds that I think are out there. Each and every one of you, I appreciate you. You give of your time, and that's a gift that no person should take for granted. So I thank you. Have a great day. Do an act of kindness unseen. You know, folks, it's working. More and more people write me and say that they're hearing that being repeated. Isn't it cool? I think it's because of y'all. Y'all are the ones. So I'm going to give you, all right, going to give mine to all of you. I bow before you with humbled thanksgiving. Namaste to all of you. Happy holidays. Keep yourself safe. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Kwanzaa, and everything else. I tell you what, it's almost like I need a list to go off here. But hey, enjoy your family, enjoy yourself, learn to love yourself, do what I do. My wife kids me about this all the time, and it's fine because we both know that it is in fact working. Here's the deal, folks. Talk to yourself in the morning. And when you do you call yourself by your first name? I ask you, how do you address yourself? I find it odd because as I look at myself, I call myself by my name, but then it's really like almost talking to myself because I am talking to myself. So why do I call myself a name? I don't know. But I do. And she kids me about it all the time. She says, she says, she says, well, one thing about it, you practice what you preach. So it's really good. All right. I appreciate all of you. Have a great day. And I'll see you again Monday night, 7 o'clock, if not sooner. By the way, Trish G wanted me to tell everybody that she is going to be giving free Life Path readings as her gift on the holiday season. So, those of you who want her to uh, give her life path, you can email me with your, I think it's your date of birth is what she needs. I think. But anyway, that should be a lot of fun. I know it helps so many people. It gives you at least a guidepost. I'm not saying it's like Trish says. You know, if you can understand what the guidepost is saying, it allows you to be able to find the path a little bit more easier, I think. Easier? Is that a word? Well, it is.